When you look at the wealthiest people, not just in the United States, but all around the world, they all have something in common. And this thing is that they are able to leverage debt, or in other words, they're able to leverage other people's money in order to create wealth. Now, most people who are poor are absolutely terrified of debt because we have been raised to think that debt is this terrible thing that should be avoided at all costs, yet our entire civilization is essentially built on debt. And it is debt that could very well be the collapse of it at the same exact time, but that's a topic for another video. What I'm about to share with you guys today are 6 ways that you can use debt to get rich. So with that said, let's get straight into it. Number 1, flipping. Many businesses in the modern world are built around the premise of buying something low and selling it high, and this is essentially what it means to flip something. The problem is that most people don't have the capital or the cash that they need to flip something like a luxury watch. So borrowing money or taking on debt can actually give you the money that you need to flip something like a watch, or to flip something like a car, or basically anything that you can buy low and sell high. Many people don't even know that Walmart is one of the biggest companies in the world, and the primary business model of Walmart is really nothing more than sourcing products for the lowest possible price and then selling them for a profit or selling them for a higher price. So the difference between a company like Walmart and a typical business is that Walmart is not the one who creates the products themselves. Walmart essentially uses its massive scale and its massive distribution chain to get the lowest possible price from the companies or from the people who actually produce the products that they sell for the lowest possible price. And there are so many different types of products out there that can be flipped. And for many of you watching, debt could easily be the missing link that you need to create a lucrative flipping operation, whether it's cars, luxury watches, or one of millions of other products that can be bought low and sold high. Number 2, now we are currently in one of the biggest stock and crypto market crashes of all time, but that doesn't mean that money cannot be made. In fact, money can be made when the stock market is going up, and it can also be made when the stock market is going down. The only problem is that most people just don't have any money to put into the stock market. And stocks and cryptocurrencies are actually the purest form of assets that you can buy low and sell high, but investing is an entire game in and of itself. But if you can get good at it, you can actually leverage debt in order to make money in the financial markets. In fact, trading on margin is actually the definition of leveraging money that you have using debt to make even more money. Many of the wealthiest individuals in the world use the stock market to further increase their wealth, but this is a game that requires capital to play with. But if you're going to borrow money in order to invest in the stock market, always make sure that you start small until you know exactly what you're doing. Number 3, passive income creation. Today we live in a world where it's easier than ever before to create a business with the internet, but you do need a little bit of money to do it. But typically with an internet business, more money invested into it can produce significantly bigger gains than that money invested into traditional assets such as a brick and mortar business or something of that nature. So what you guys have to understand is that online business and the types of businesses that you can create on the internet can provide some of the greatest forms of passive income generation out there, but you have to know at the end of the day what you're doing. But essentially, borrowing money to create digital assets can give you a very powerful form of passive income. Number 4, borrowing against assets. Now, for many of the world's richest, their fortunes were actually created using debt or using other people's money. A lot of people don't know this, but many of the world's richest and wealthiest individuals and companies were actually created using debt or using other people's money. And the way that this works is actually rather simple. If you own an asset like a house, most banks will lend you money against that house, and with this money, you are able to buy more houses that will produce more cash flow and produce more wealth for you. And the more assets that you accumulate over time, the more money that you can borrow against them, and so on and so forth until you've made more money than you know what to do with. You see, most people don't know that the primary form of wealth creation among the world's wealthiest individuals and companies is actually borrowing money against assets that they already own. The only problem is that you must first have assets that you can borrow against, but once you have at least one solid asset, like a home, the road to wealth through using other people's money will become much clearer and much easier for you to do. Number 5, knowledge. Now, if there's one thing that the rich have that most people do not, it is knowledge, but more specifically, it is specialized knowledge. And this knowledge comes in large part from experience, but it also comes in the form of learning. You see, for quite some time now, the rich have known that the easiest path to wealth by far is to simply find somebody else who has already done what they wanted to do and to extract knowledge from that person, usually by paying them some money. Now, some would call this investing in yourself, but whatever you want to call it, it is easily one of the most effective ways that you can use debt to get rich, because essentially what you're doing is you're borrowing money in order to gain knowledge from somebody who has already done what you want to do. Knowledge is particularly useful when you're at the bottom and you need some sort of specialized knowledge or skill in order to dig your way out. For many of you watching, investing in yourself could be something as simple as finding somebody who has already done what you want to do and then borrowing money to gain the knowledge that that person has that you don't have. But sometimes it's better to avoid paying somebody else for knowledge and to simply invest the money that you have borrowed into your business or whatever plan it is that you have to make money with, and then learn from the experience gained from trial and error along the way. See, if you choose to invest in knowledge, you have to be really careful because there's always going to be people out there who claim to have the magic knowledge that you need to get rich when in reality, they're just trying to sell you a dream. You see, when I first started out in business, I was so poor that I had to put the things that I needed on a credit card. But that single business that I used that credit card for, I started with only a few $100s, has actually made me almost $1 million in pure profits. And so using debt to invest in yourself or to invest in education and learning for yourself is one of the best ways by far that you can use debt in order to make yourself rich. Number 6, low cost debt. So if your guys' goal is to get rich using debt, you have to understand one simple thing. Anytime that you borrow money, there is going to be a fee. For something like a car loan, depending on your credit score, the fee could be anywhere from 0% up to 29% interest per year. So if you want to use debt to create wealth, you have to make sure that the debt that you're obtaining is low cost, meaning it's not going to cost you a ton of money to borrow it. Because debt that comes with a very high interest rate, such as what you'd find on a credit card, for example, is debt that you'd really want to stay away from unless you're able to use it to flip something quickly. Because the longer that you use that debt, the more that you're going to have to pay in interest and the more it's going to eat away from your profits. And as you become wealthier and you get a better credit score, the cost of borrowing money will go down dramatically because banks will start to view you as less of a risk and they will be happier to loan you larger amounts of money at lower interest rates. So when borrowing money to create wealth, even on a smaller scale, you should always make sure that the cost of the debt is not so high that it'll eat away all of your profits. And there are many companies out there that will have no problem loaning out money at a 29% interest rate. And this might sound good to so many people, but if you're paying a third of the money that you borrowed in interest every single year, oftentimes the juice is not going to be worth the squeeze. Now, if we were to look at all of the wealthiest companies and individuals in the world, what you'll find is that pretty much every single one of them uses debt in a way that is able to help them build their wealth. Some companies, for example, will borrow hundreds of millions of dollars in order to fund the construction of a large casino. And since the profit margin is so incredibly high from casino activities, the profit from that business is more than enough to pay off the interest and to pay off the loans that were acquired to actually build a casino over time. And as you get higher up on the chain of wealth and you begin to escape the rat race, what you guys will realize is that the fastest path to wealth oftentimes is simply leveraging money from banks and from other people in order to do that. These are 6 easy ways that you can use debt to start getting rich right now. And with that said, my name's Julian, and until next time, thank you guys so much for watching.